right, Dre. Got a big smile on your face, man. I spoke to you a few days ago, and you said exactly that Bivol would win the fight as long as the judges were fair. What did you see beforehand that made you say, hey, I think Bivol is going to beat Canelo?
Well, it's not what I saw beforehand. It's what I've seen all the way through. Bivol has been boxing elegantly, articulately, for many, many, many years now. He might not get you out of there, but he will certainly put the boxing moves and put the skill set on you. And I told everyone was asking me, well, Canelo, I said, listen, Canelo is one of my favorite fighters, but this man is controlling the light heavyweight division.
So does that mean that you believe that Bivol is the best guy at 175, even better than a guy that like Beterbiev or Joe Smith?
Hands down.
Could you kind of elaborate on why? Because Beterbiev has been stopping everybody.
Yeah, he's been stopping everybody because everybody's been sort of meeting him there. When he has to earn it and get close enough to do it, it's going to be a big, big difference. And Bivol has the technical prowess to control the environment of the ring better than any of the light heavyweights I've seen. So I don't see Beterbiev winning that fight. I see Bivol doing what he always does, boxes his way to a decision.
Now, Canelo and Eddie Reynoso said that they want the rematch with Bivol. I'm not sure if it's going to be immediately after. It might be, but do you see it playing out any differently, Canelo and Bivol?
No. Don't take that rematch. Go after Golovkin. Go back to 168. Forget about the light heavyweights. Forget about all the rest of that cruiserweight. The preposterous Usyk. I can fight Usyk. Forget, man. Listen. Let's be real about it.
Okay.
A lot of people were brought out of the clouds with this fight.
Okay, so since we're being real about it, as a trainer, if you were to train Canelo, what would you tell him to do better as opposed to the first time if he was to say, hey, I'm going to take the rematch? What would you tell him to do better?
He has to close the distance. He can't be at Bivol's beck and call, meaning he can't be at the end of his jabs and right hands or his hooks. He can't be there. And if you can't close the distance, you're not going to win. That's the bottom line. There's no special science about this one. The man controlled the environment perfectly. And I think that if they fought again, it'd be even worse.
So are you kind of alluding to Bivol possibly getting a stoppage over Canelo?
No, just a worse performance.
Gotcha. So just more one-sided.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Now, since Canelo said he could end up fighting Triple G or he could end up fighting Bivol again, let's just say he goes the Triple G route. With the Canelo that you just saw this past Saturday, do you think Triple G has a better chance, or do you think it'll still end up kind of being the same where Canelo would win one more time?
I think it only because at this advanced age of 40, things change. You slow down, and he might still be a ferocious puncher, but the attack measure has slowed down. The quantity of the attack measure has slowed down. So it could be a very interesting fight, or Canelo could, because Canelo has definitely gotten better, he could box even better than he did before and win a decision. There will be no knockout. I'll call that one ahead of time.
Circling back to the Bivol fight, do you just believe that Bivol is just the better fighter than Canelo, or do you think that being at 175 just isn't a good look for Canelo?
It's not a good look for him. Size does matter. Ask any woman walking the planet, she'll tell you. It is what it is. And some things just mirror themselves. Size doesn't matter. He's the bigger man. He's the longer man. He's the stronger man. And it made itself apparent in the bout.
Well, since you said that 175 probably would be too much for Canelo, Bivol did mention that he'd be willing to go to 168 to fight Canelo for all of his titles. Since Bivol will be dropping down in weight, do you think Canelo has a better chance at winning that at 168?
No, I really don't, because Bivol sort of balances in the middle. But if I was Bivol, I'd be careful too. I'm ruling supreme at 175. Sometimes a weight cut is a harsh action that you take upon your body. So if I was him, I'd say forget that, stay where you are, let people come and see you. You already have dethroned the #1 pound-for-pound fighter. Now it's time for you to lament your legacy and fight Bernabe and whoever else is coming. And if anything, maybe you move up to the cruiserweight division and glam another title out of that, and then you're in the Hall of Fame.
Is there anybody, because there was Charlo, there was David Benavidez, obviously Golovkin. Can any of those three guys kind of take a page out of Bivol's book and use that same game plan to defeat Canelo? Or do you think Bivol is just such a special athlete and fighter that only he can do that?
Well, that's Bivol's style. All the boxers that you mentioned, they all have different flavors. Actually, the two closest, really, believe it or not, are Charlo and Benavidez, because they utilize a jab very effectively and efficiently. But they don't have the nuances that Bivol has. He has great footwork also. People don't realize that till they see him in there against somebody like a Canelo, and you get to see him move and step and glide. And it's very dance-like in the way he does it.
Gotcha. Now, with Canelo taking a loss, a lot of people have pushed him underneath, knocked him off his #1 pound-for-pound ranking. So who would you say is the best fighter in the world right now, currently?
Well, I mean, right now I still got to give it to Canelo, because he took a challenge. It wasn't like it was somebody at 68. He went up again and met the best light heavyweight, and he fell short. So that's not something to be ashamed of or disgraced of. He did what he had to do, but he couldn't do it the way he wanted to.
So would you still have Canelo as the #1 fighter?
Yes. Now, in my opinion, when Spence and TC get it on, I would give the winner of that bout the crown of pound for pound.
Well, since you mentioned it, who would you give the edge to in that fight? 50-50 fight, but who would you give the edge to?
Listen, I love both of them. I really do. They're fantastic athletes. There's certain things that Spence does that make him that guy, and there's things that TC does that makes him that guy. So I'm gonna play the uncle role and be neutral on that one, saying may the best man win, and I'm looking forward to it.
Gotcha. Now, it was recently revealed that as part of the package that PBC offered to Canelo, it was Charlo at 168, and then they gave Canelo an option between fighting David Benavidez at 68 or fighting Errol Spence at 164. How would you see a Spence versus Canelo fight playing out at 164? You think it's too much weight, or can he still compete?
I think it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. You're asking Spence to do what Canelo did.
Well, even to a bigger degree, that would be about
even more. You got 310. That's at 60. That's 17 pounds. Mm-hmm. And Canelo's going to rehydrate. No, it made no sense to say that. I mean, if you want to go to every fighter that has tried to do it has had a bad time with it. Everyone. So I don't want to see Spence do something that doesn't make sense.
Since you said you don't really want to see it, though, do you feel that he can compete, though, against Canelo at 164, or would Canelo probably stop him?
No, I think he's going to, it's just too much for him. It's too much for him.
Stoppage, or would you see it playing out in the decision?
I could see it being, I mean, Errol is tough. But a man that much bigger, believe it, not even just size, but just the fact of he's been there at these weights, it just wouldn't be a good thing.
Got you. Thank you, brother.